Actually, good evening. This is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center. Tonight's Wednesday, September 13th. Let me let some more people in. And this is our rendition of our Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. We have a special guest in here tonight. So we're going to keep it basic for those who are in here for the very first time. What's up, Mr. Jackson? Keith? We have Nate. Nate is Jared not going to be here tonight?
Nope, he's gone tonight.
Okay, cool. That's fine.
Okay.
So we have Nate is from eCarrier Check, which I have the website up here. eCarrier Check is, we're going to do it from a basics perspective, Nate. And
okay,
what I'll do is, if you drive, I'll keep it on my screen unless you want me to give you the share and you do it. Either way.
Yeah, you can give me the share and I can do it for you.
Okay. So for all you new dispatchers, you just started your dispatching company, you may have questions about either getting, your number one question will be about sourcing or procuring or getting truck drivers. So eCarrier Check is a software that it's like a match.com. You can find carriers, you can find brokers, you can find shippers. And Nate, stop me if I'm incorrect at any point.
Doing great.
So now the thing about this is their user experience or the interface has changed a little bit. So I'm kind of getting used to that. So I guess we need to start from the home page and then start from the carrier, broker, and shipper, all the features and functionality. Okay. AJ said, can we invite someone? Sure, bring them in. AJ. This is a free-for-all tonight. I want to introduce you guys to this resource that you can potentially use as new dispatching companies coming right into the door, right? In addition to our training, our back office portal that provides you with all the documentations to get you set up with your dispatcher agreements and things of that nature. Your dispatcher agreement, your carrier profile, your limited power of attorney, those things. I'll address the low board issue later on because we seem to be having individuals logging in or missing the boat as far as logging in or refreshing the page. So I'll say this right now as it relates to the low boards in module 2. When you come, if you are a member who is enrolled in our ongoing training and you have access to this members portal, this main menu area right here, when you come, and it's self-paced for 90 days. When you come to the low boards module, which is low board module 2, I recommend please refresh your browser when you come there, because every so often we change the passwords because either it expired or someone may have entered it. You know how with some softwares have a security feature, if you enter an incorrect password 3 times, it locks you out. Okay. So I would have to go in and change it and then tell everybody, hey, the password's been changed. We got a new one. Refresh your browser because all of our passwords are right here where this PDF says updated. PDF, new low board logins. So if you refresh your screen, your browser, or this page, either by hitting this circle up here next to the URL or clicking, if you have a keyboard that has function keys on it, then the F5 key on your keyboard refreshes your screen. Okay, 2 ways, F5 or just hit the refresh. And then that'll give you the latest and most updated PDF of the usernames and passwords for all the load boards that we give access to. Okay. Nate, do you have a corporate login? Because I'm trying to get do I have to get individual logins for everyone who wants to have access to eCarrier Check?
Yeah, I think at the moment what they're doing is using that link that you have and they sign up and make their own account. So essentially it's, you guys aren't sharing like the same password or anything like that, but because I see what you're doing with like The load board there.
Right. And I wanted to be that. I wanted to be able to offer that service to all of the students here, but I wanted to see what, I guess you, myself, Nate, Trevor, whoever, we have to have a conversation about how we can,
Yeah.
benefit, everyone can benefit by accessing this. Because I'm just accessing this by myself. I haven't shared the logins with anyone, as you can tell, because I'm sure you have a kind of tracking in your back end to see based off IP address and stuff. So, but anyway, so that's it for the load boards. Now, eCarrier check for all of you new dispatchers can help you. One of your first, I guess, obstacles or hurdles in being a freight dispatcher will be, well, how can I dispatch for someone if I don't have a truck driver to dispatch for? A carrier, right? That makes sense. That's the first thing I need. I need a truck driver to provide a service to dispatch for, while I'm learning how to dispatch in the training, right? So eCarrier Check is a resource that provides the ability to source the truck drivers or find the carriers. So now, Nate, the floor is yours. I'll still talk to you, but the floor is yours. Before we start, though, are there any questions from you guys here in this tonight? There's 36 of us here tonight. So,
oh well, nice.
Any questions? Okay. And I see some other features in here too that are pretty exciting. Deja Carwise have a question. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I had a question when it comes to the DOT. So if we did have a driver, but they don't have the DOT number or the MC number, how could you go about like getting one? Like, could they go to like another company and use their DOT number, and then are we able to like book them loads, or how would we go about that?
That's a great question. So if you have a driver, someone that wants you to dispatch for them, right, whatever equipment type they are, that does not have a MC number, which is a motor carrier number, or a DOT number, these two numbers are required because they say that this person has the authority to transport and to operate a vehicle transporting freight for a fee. Okay. If they do not have that, you can't dispatch for them, because when you call a broker, that's what they're looking for. They're verifying them to make sure that they are authorized to transport freight. If the driver wants the MC or DOT number, it is up to the driver to apply for their operating authority, unless they are asking you to help them. And if you know how to do that, and if you even want to entertain going through that process of doing it for them, right? And that involves your time. I would charge an extra service. If you've never applied for an operating authority for a motor carrier, I would say, well, my initial response would be, don't do it, because you don't want to make the mistake. But it's not a hard process, but it's just tedious. When a driver applies for a motor carrier authority, they have to go to the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They have to fill out what's called the Form OP-1. That is the application for an authority for a motor carrier or a broker. Under the motor carrier section, it describes what type of authority as a motor carrier do they want to have as a driver. Common carrier, contract carrier, passenger carrier, or household goods. Most drivers today over the road who's transporting freight are going to be classified as a common carrier, okay? You have to, if you want to do that for them, if they're going to be an owner-operator, I would say, well, before you can work with me, Mr. Driver, I need you to go ahead and get your authority active. Let them, because it's their company, I would put the onus on them to do it. I wouldn't want to take a chance of messing up someone else's company by trying to apply for an operating authority for them. Unless they're green and they don't know anything, they want you to do it for them, then my next wonder will be, well, man, am I going to be successful even dispatching for this person? You see, so, but that's the process. You got to apply for the authority. Then the driver, before the authority becomes active, the MC and DOT, they have to have insurance. They have to have what's called a Form BOC3, which is a designation of a process agent, right? They have to have a UCR, Unified Carrier Registration. So And then if they're crossing state lines, they have to have apportion plates, IFTA, IRP, and all these other things, right? So that is the process. But if a driver comes to you wanting you to dispatch for them and they don't have any of that, I would say, I can't dispatch for you now, sir, until you have an active authority saying that you can transport freight. Okay? You'll save yourself a whole lot of headache down the line, especially if you've never done it before. Okay? All right. So, Nate.
Yes,
I
sir.
have a question.
Yes, who is that?
Connie?
Hello, Connie. How are you? Good evening.
Good. Good evening. I have a question. So my husband already has his MC and the dot and everything set up for it to be a carrier.
Okay.
Do I have to get my LLC in order to dispatch under him, or can I just dispatch like while I'm learning? I still plan on getting my LLC and EIN number, but do I have to have my LLC, or can I dispatch under his LLC?
Great question. So, two ways. You can dispatch under his company as an employee of him, working for him under his company as a W-2 employee. Okay. And you don't have to get an LLC. You're just working for your husband and he's paying you as an employee. Or you can be an independent dispatch company, independent contractor, 1099, where you would have your own company. If you plan on dispatching for your husband as well as other owner operators, then I would suggest creating your own entity, your own LLC and things like that. But if you only plan on dispatching for your husband, then you don't need to form the LLC. You can just work under your husband as a W-2 employee under him and be under his LLC and things like that. Just a worker. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. At some point I do at least I'm going to try to at least get some carriers, but to start off, I'll practice with him. So I can work as a.
So if that's your ultimate goal, if that's your ultimate goal to dispatch, so you want to leverage dispatching for your husband for practice, but ultimately you want to dispatch for other owner operators as well. So then while you're doing that, I would be creating your company then at the same time.
Okay, but I can work under him as an independent contractor or a W-2 employee.
Whatever choice you decide to do. But it has to be one or the other.
Okay. Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. All right. Any other questions before we get Nate on here?
Wait. Actually, I do have a question to follow up on that question I just said. So when it comes to communicating with brokers, would obviously I would be providing them his MC number and dot number and everything, and I would just be providing them his company name.
That's correct. Because
because
you have neither of those, right?
Right.
You don't have a company, you don't have an MC.
So how does it come? Okay, so how does it work when I have to have the dispatch and carrier agreement? That would be void then at that point, right? Because I wouldn't be like when we're filling out that form, the dispatch.
You're saying between you and your husband?
Correct.
Yeah, if it's between you and your husband, I would start off as just an employee working under him, a W-2. When you start doing independently with other owner operators, then that dispatcher agreement comes in place and their MC and DOT comes into place and things like that. But keep it okay. With you and your husband, keep it informal. But when you start to branch off and be working with other owner operators with their own authority, then you want to make it formal.
Right. So that dispatch agreement is void at this point, because the only thing that provides is the fact that this carrier is going to pay me as a dispatch. That's what that agreement says.
Right. And right? I guess void is a bad choice of words in my opinion, but it's not, it's unnecessary between you and your husband at this point. If he's going to, my advice to you in this particular situation is to work under your husband as a W-2 while you're learning how to dispatch. And then when you're ready to branch off and dispatch for other owner operators outside of your husband's company, then create your entity and dispatch agreement and contracts and stuff like that. Yes.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Tiffany Daniels. Nate, we're going to get to you.
Hey, my question is about the new carriers. Like, is it should you go for new carriers knowing that the brokers may not want to work with them because they're new, and how seasoned do you want them to be?
Great question. So it's a give and take there. So new carriers come to you more because they're new carriers and they need help finding loads.
Right.
The flip side of that is that some brokers, not all, and we have a list of those brokers who work with new authority carriers.
Great.
So on the flip side of that, how far seasoned will a carrier allow you to dispatch for them, and how far seasoned should you decide to go after a carrier? Is it 6 months or more? Is it a year or more? Is it 2 years or more? That's completely up to you, the dispatch service. If you are now knowing this, I think 6 months to a year or more, if a carrier is, and what do I mean by 6 months or 3 months? What I mean is how old their MC authority has been active. How long has it been active? Like, is it been active for 3 months, 6 months, a year? A year or more, you're pretty much in the clear. It's open season. Pretty much any broker will work with you because your authority has been active. Your operating authority as a motor carrier has been active for more than a year. So now that sweet spot where you're going to wonder whether or not they are is between 6 months in a year or 3 months in the 6 months or what have you, right? So now ultimately the decision is up to you, the dispatch service, which way you want to go. If you're having trouble getting carriers, depending on the equipment type, I would target new carriers, but only those new carriers, truck drivers, owner operators with the 3 major equipment types. What are the 3 major equipment types? Does anybody?
Reefer, flatbed, and drive-in.
Right. So you have, even if they're a new carrier, but if they're coming to a broker with one of those 3 equipment types, the broker will still give them an opportunity, particularly those brokers who we send you to from the list that we provide in our portal. Okay, so the beauty of those new carriers with those equipment types is they want you as a dispatcher because they need someone to help them make their company profitable because they just got their authority. They need a little push along the way.
Okay. So when it comes to the flatbeds, I see a couple different images, and I heard somebody say something about step decks on some videos that I was watching. So step deck is still a flatbed, right?
That is correct. It is in the flatbed category. The flatbed is the parent. The flatbed is the parent name of that particular equipment type. The step deck is a variation of that. Let me show you. If ever you want to know
what about that double drop?
Whenever you want to know what something looks like, I would go to images.google.com.
That's what I'm on. I'm looking at that now, but I just seen that it was just 3 different kinds. So I'm just like, is it a specific kind that that you want to be trying to get as a dispatcher?
As a dispatcher, you want, in the flatbed category, as a dispatcher, you want to target just the standard flatbeds, just what we call the skateboards, just a standard flatbed, not the RGs, not the step decks, not the double drops, not the hopper bottoms or any of those types, right? The standard flatbed, this is a step deck, what you're seeing on the screen here, the image. Right. Because it steps up, it's flat, and then it steps up to another deck, right? That's where the name comes from, towards the front of the trailer, right? So the standard flatbed, if you go to our portal here and you go to module 1 under getting the carriers, we show you the 3 major equipment types. Here's a dry van, here's the inside of a dry van, refrigerated trailer, here's refrigerated, and then the flatbeds. This is a standard flatbed. We call it a skateboard.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, that's a flatbed. This is a flatbed also. It got freight on it and it's tarped and strapped and everything. That's a flatbed. Those are the 3 major equipment types. Why do we call them major equipment types? Because you can find loads. These are the equipment types that you can find loads for on the spot market load boards the easiest. These are the 3 major equipment types that they're out here on the roads the most, right? And these are the 3 major equipment types where they pay the better rates than the other specialized equipment types, which are right here. box trucks, power onlys, hot shots, and cargo vans, sprinter vans.
That one
Okay.
that's on the hot shot, is that considered a gooseneck?
It is a miniature version of a removable gooseneck. It is just a flatbed trailer, but it's hitched onto a dually pickup
Fifth wheel?
truck. Right. It's hitched onto a pickup truck, a dually. Now, a true removable gooseneck, which is an RGN, those are designed for heavy equipment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to images.google.com and you put RGN trailer, you're going to get these big boys. These are removable goosenecks. These are huge. They haul like excavators and dump trucks and big heavy haul stuff, oversized and overweight.
Okay. Those are oversized loads, right?
Oversized and overdimensional. That's correct. Those go on what's called removable goosenecks, right? And some of the removable gooseneck types are called double drops. They're RGNs, low boys, cattle trailers, possum trailers, different types. So, okay.
Gotcha. Okay, my last question was, how do you find out what kind of freight is coming out of like different zones or different states? Say I got a guy that has a reefer, and I want to keep him in an area where reefers are really being used. It's popular in that area. How can I find out what area that is that reefers are being used in so I can keep my man running?
That's a great question. So, Nate, do you have an analytical tool on eCarrier Check that provides that, or?
That's a really good question. I was shaking my head like, damn, we should get that on the site. That's really good thought there.
So on most load boards, Tiffany, you can find analytical data on, so you named a specific equipment type. So what you would do is, like, for example, 123 load board, they have a feature called load availability, and you can see the high number of inbound and outbound freight coming into and out of certain states. Those numbers reflect the three major equipment types of dry van, flatbed, or reefer. Once you get whatever state you want to choose, you open that up and then you just filter for the specific equipment type you want, which is the reefer. So then you just see all the freight for that refrigerated trailer, and then you decide from there. So, and then you have that so you have that directory, you have the load availability tool in 123 load board. What am I talking about? So let me show you instead of telling you, right?
Thank you, because I'm more of a hands-on, visual kind of.
Understood. And sometimes I have a tendency to go off track, and I have to bring myself back and realize my audience. And that's not a bad thing to you guys, but I'm just saying, right? Trend lines, David, that's a great point, David. Dat trend lines is an analytical tool that shows the spot market rates for the major equipment types, dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers, right? So you'll see, it doesn't necessarily show the high volume of freight, but it shows the high cents per mile for the freight in certain zones. So you tell yourself, well, it stands to reason if the cents per mile is high, then it must be a high volume of freight in those particular areas where the cents per mile is high, right? You just put 2 and 2 together, right? So on here, find loads, load availability. So if you go here, load availability, you have 2 different ways of viewing this. You have a density map where you see the map of everything, and then you have a density list where it shows it in alphabetical order of the state or states, right? And it shows a high volume of outbound, intrastate, and inbound freight. Once you choose a particular state, now what do we mean by that? Like, let's say, for example, what is AL? That's an abbreviation for which state?
Alabama, right?
Alabama, right? I agree. Say, you guys forgot 7th grade geography.
I did a little bit. I'm trying to freshen back up on it, but I did a little bit.
So Alabama has 1,588 loads going out. It's not all reefer loads. It's across all the major equipment types and maybe a few specialty ones sprinkled in there. Okay. Then you have intrastate. What does intrastate mean, guys? What does that mean?
When they stay inside the state.
They
Is that
freight
it?
is moving within the state of Alabama. It doesn't go outside the state.
Right.
It's a state back and forth. Mobile to Montgomery or Mobile to wherever, right? So, and then inbound is loads coming from all points elsewhere into the state of Alabama. That's what inbound means, right? So let's say we chose this. Let's click that. It's going to give you a viewing of what it is, right? So now you see all these outbound, inbound loads. Now you see all the loads here, 1588. You can go to the equipment field and filter it in such a way that you can put it like in alphabetical order on this particular load. And you can see reefers, because V, R is van or reefer, right? So you can look at the major reefer loads and just gradually go through them, right? What I normally do on a load, now what we're looking at, for those of you who don't know, this is called a load board. This is software where brokers and shippers put their freight for sale on here, and motor carriers come onto this load board, put in certain filters for whatever requirements they have, and find loads according to their requirements. As a dispatcher, that is what you'll be doing for them. So instead of them doing that, they focus on driving, and you do what I just described, what they would do as a driver. You'll go on the load board and find loads for them according to their requirements. What are their requirements? How do you know what their requirements are? Well, in our training, we give them a document in our packet called what? The carrier profile. That tells them, or tells us, what they're telling us in the carrier profile, what they want. So now we go to the load board and search according to that to cater to that requirement. Make sense? So
yes,
on this load board, what I normally do is click the rate check or the rate to see what are the higher paying loads. Here's a $7,000 load. And then you begin to look at where it's going to and, what's it paying and things like that. That's $7,000. But that's an RGN though. See, that equipment is an RG or removable gooseneck. So I see look at DJ. She was like, oh my God, look, I see the look.
you should get our hand on her head.
I have your stuff on the stove.
So that's $7,000, $13 a mile, right? But that's a heavy haul load. That looks like a high paying load, but once you factor in all the expenses involved, you got clearances, you got width, you got pilot cars, maybe flags. You may have all types of different expenses required to move a oversized or overdimensional load. That 7,000 may turn into 3,500 after a while. You never know. You got to go into the load and get the description of the load to see what all that stuff is. So just because you see a high number, right? Don't salivate yet. Don't slob yet. You got to read the D and look at the weight. 93,000 pounds. That's going to take a while. 31 feet. You see, so there's details in here. You got to get all the information. So a key to dispatching is you want to make sure you get as much detailed information about a specific load according to your carrier's profile before you present it to your carrier. Okay? So, all right. So Nate, I'm sorry, man. I got to get to you, man. We're going to get to you soon, man.
You're okay. I enjoyed the questions. This is great.
Okay, so, but this is a load board, and this is the process. There's several load boards out here. Now, what Nate's software, Nate, Jared, Trevor, and the guys over there, eCarrier Check does is it fuses or it unites or joins or marry carriers to brokers or carriers to direct shippers without the process of a load board. Now, you will have to talk to these people, right? Talk to the carriers, talk to the brokers. Hey, man, I see you got, I'm trying to get my carrier connected with you or set up with you. You connect to the broker, you start a conversation. You say, hey, I got capacity. I got about 10 assets. So you got to learn in dispatching at some point over time, you're going to learn the jargon and the verbiage of how to speak to the different players in the game, right? Carriers, brokers, shippers, right? You got to understand the language of the carriers. You got to understand the language of the brokers and the shippers. Okay. Sharon asked, is it the dispatcher responsibility to get the escorts for the wide loads on the, no, it's not, the broker. This is a brokered load. The broker will make sure all the paperwork is available and ready for that process. It is not the dispatcher's responsibility to get the flags, get the pilot cars, or anything like that. The broker will have, if a broker wants to get paid by a shipper for a large, removable, oversized, or overdimensional load, they will make sure, because it is in their best interest to make sure that all the paperwork is in its right place for the proper and consistent and safe transport of that shipment. That is the broker's responsibility. You don't have to worry about that whatsoever. Okay? So, Mr. Humphrey. Mr. Humphrey? And I'm while
I
I'm
think
waiting on
he's muted on his side.
Can you unmute yourself, Mr. Humphrey? No, he's unmuted. He's unmuted. Yeah, you're unmuted. I just can't. Unplug your headset that's in your laptop or desktop, or turn your volume up on your computer. Yeah, or I can't hear you. What you can do is type your question in the chat if you're able to do that, and then I'll address it there if you don't mind. Just for the sake of time, because I want to make sure I get everybody. So I'll see the question in. Okay, got it. All right, thank you. Nate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, find me a carrier. I'm a new dispatcher. I need a carrier to dispatch for.
Okay. Do you want me to drive, or you want me to kind of drive you?
You could drive me, that way I can learn at the same time. We kill two birds with one stone.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay. So let's just talk about the most three top the popular types of equipment you guys are already on. Can you enlarge?
Yeah,
you kind of want Charles to, yeah, there you go. So what we're going to do is, I don't know if there's a specific location you guys want to go, but if we want to go find, carriers, what we can do, that very first option, Charles, is do search by location. We're keep it plain and simple here, pretty,
Okay. So under tools,
under tools there, under carriers.
So at the top, at the top, we got the find carriers highlighted, not brokers, not shippers, right? We got, if we're looking for carriers, want to hit the find carriers, and then under tools, right? We want to search carriers by location. So we click that. Okay, good.
Correct. So here, and I'm going to show you a couple things too after this, but this will be your main place to start. Now, I heard some of you talking about maybe finding carriers that are recently added, and I'll show you that after this. But so essentially now what we do is start adding our location. As you can see, we can do located near, or we can simply go to, Houston or Atlanta. So that's where you want to go to find carriers that are located in that area. The operate near, the one below it, this one's different. This one, you want to find carriers, let's say for instance, Atlanta, that will show you carriers that have been inspected in Atlanta. They aren't necessarily, their headquarters is in that area, but they've been inspected. And then run a lane between, that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's find some carriers that we have seen being inspected in a specific lane. So
let me go back to the first one.
Yeah.
The one that says located near, that means that's where their base company is set up at. That's what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Can you search by zip code?
I believe you should. This is all connected to Google Maps, so you could probably do zip code, city, states. You can do all that.
Okay, so you can do by zip code.
If you want to. I've never tried zip code. I always do like cities and states. We can try zip code if you want to. I would go to located near and then enter a location, try zip code there.
Okay, so right here, located near, and then put a location and zip code. So the person who just typed that question. Oh no, located near, not operating.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Okay, I'm gonna put my zip code in.
Okay.
Right there, so it pops up with the city state. So you put a zip code in, it pops up with your city state. So the other person, who? Oh, David. Okay, you put the zip code in. Okay, David asked that question.
Yeah.
Okay. And then someone, Connie asking, what's the meeting code? Anyone got? Oh, someone's trying to get in, Connie? Okay, thank you, Brittany. Appreciate it.
No, I got it. I was trying to get onto it on my iPad. I got it.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So we could do by zip code. So we just proved that theory. So we can do by zip code. We just start. You can start typing in the city, and it'll pretty much auto populate with the common names of cities, right? So someone give me a city. Keith, give me something. Give me a city.
Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus, Georgia, located near Columbus.
Perfect.
There it is, Georgia. Boom. Okay. So now it zooms in. So now we got a radius, right?
Yep. So this is going to go from 5 to 300 miles radius. I typically, if you want to really stay close to Columbus, I would probably keep it in, under 100, in my opinion. Let's do 50.
Okay, 50-mile radius, and then you just hit search, right?
Yep, you'll hit search. Now, we haven't even added an equipment type yet, so this is our next step. On the left-hand side here, you'll see all of our filters to help you build a list. We have 36 pages that Charles just searched for, 25 carriers to a page. That's quite a bit of carriers.
So wait a minute. So let me bring my calculator up and do some
Yeah.
mathematics here. So 25 on each page at 36 pages. So 25 times 36 potential carriers, 900.
Mhm. That's overwhelming to me. So this is why we have the filters on the left-hand side. And as you can see, we talked about dry van, flatbeds, reefers. Now your flatbeds will be under your open deck here on the left-hand side there under equipment.
Right.
So if you
Open
want to
deck
press
trailer.
that for me, Charles,
Gotcha.
and you see right below, it says flatbed type. And you can see there's a button that says see more. There you go.
Right.
And hit
See more. So it lists
it's
all the
originally- Mhm.
subcategories under the bed.
Exactly. Subcategories.
Okay. So
So-
let me.
That's the first step. I mean, there's 5 pages there. So it's not a terrible whole list to kind of go through, but remember, there's still 25 to a page. That may still be overwhelming for some that are new to this industry.
Right.
But if you continue to scroll down on that left-hand side there on the filters, you'll see we have commodity keyword search. So when carriers sign up with the FMCSA, we're pulling that data. So we're updating some data monthly, daily, weekly, okay? But what that commodity keyword search is, everyone, it's going to be able to find you carriers that haul a specific commodity. Now, Charles, if you hover over that very first carrier, just hover over the flatbed, like the images. You see how that pulls up, how many trucks and trailers they have, drivers. Below all that, it says metal sheets, logs, poles, building materials.
Okay.
That is actually what those
No, let
carriers
me get the meeting code again.
are flagging when they sign up with the FMCSA. So
Correct.
that will be that on the left-hand side there where it says commodity keys, search keyword.
Right.
This would be the area for you to find carriers that are hauling pipe or, potatoes or plastic, etc.
Right.
Below that, we actually have carrier size. I heard a lot of owner-operator talk today, and we can find you owner-operators in Columbus, Georgia. I believe that's where we're at. So if you want to click that,
Got it. Boom.
boom, our list went from 5 pages to 2 now.
So it's still 25 per page at 2 pages. It's still 50 carriers.
Exactly.
Well, 50
Exactly.
owner operators.
Exactly. So now if this were to be a list that a dispatcher would love and would love to start reaching out to these carriers, you have multiple ways to do it. I'm a big fan of picking up the phone, but on eCarrier Check, you can actually email from us throughout the site, or you can simply just call from the site as well. But a lot of the times people like to email from their own email, which we get. So what you could actually do, towards the left there, it says export with that arrow go down, Charles, to the left there of your mouse. Go down a little bit with your mouse and to the left. Hover over that first carrier. Yeah, go to the left more there. Keep going.
Okay,
keep
let me
going.
let me move my thing.
Okay. Yeah, keep going left, and there's gonna be an export button with like an arrow pointing down.
Right there.
There you go. Right there. Click that for me. So check this out now. If you wanted to take just the emails from this page, and what you could do is get on your your Outlook email or Gmail, but you can select all the carriers on this page and say, hey, I just want to take the selected emails on this page, and I want to BCC all these carriers. And maybe you want to ask them, hey, have you found your first load, right? Or how are you finding your loads, etc. So you can take out copy selected emails. You can download the first 20 pages, So those are
Wow.
a few options for you. Yep.
You can create one campaign script and send them to multiple emails.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And
this
to
is for
add some
people, that could be for people who are not like customer service or are not good at cold calling. You want to, another way of reaching out to the carriers.
Right, exactly. And then another way too is for you guys to kind of keep organized of the carriers you have reached out to. So if you move over to the right on that same black bar there to the right, keep going all the way to the right, you can actually start adding carriers to a list. So maybe, I think it was Keith that made this this search here. Keith can make a flatbed or open deck Columbus, Georgia list and keep that organized. So he could click that check mark there to the right there. Yep. Select all. And then you're going to hit the little guy with the plus sign. This is where Keith can go and create a list and say open deck Columbus, Georgia carriers, right? And then yep, there you go. Open deck Columbus, name it what you want. I was just talking to my development team. You can make up to 10 lists. And I think I'm working on expanding that list because I know dispatchers would love to have more than 10 lists. So you can create your list there, add a color.
And then create lists.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. And then you're going to see all these carriers now are turning purple because you put them on a list. So right there, we ran a really good search for you guys to start reaching out to them. Now, there are some more options on the left-hand side there for filters. I don't know if you kind of want to skim through those really quick, Charles, there.
Well, I can hit the checkbox to select all and then remove all from the list, right?
Yep. And you can remove them. Yep, for sure.
And then they all go away. Okay.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. So this is a good way to run your first search. At least try to gather a good first list as as you're starting your broker or your dispatching.
Okay, so let me pause right here because there's someone who has a question. Esther.
Okay.
Hi, Charles. Hi, Nate. Hi, everyone. My question is, how do I filter for new operators, for new owner operators? That's the best filter because that's our target market right now. That's who we're trying to get to.
Yep, I love that question. So
okay, so
Charles,
you have. I think I got an idea of what, Nate. I guess over here on the left side, you would go down to. Is there like an authority where you can see how old the authority is or whatever, or?
Yeah, so we do have a recently active button actually right there under other options. If you go up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, right there, recently
active button.
So now what does recently active mean? Like, is it like in the last 30 days, in the 90 days?
Last 3 months.
Last 3 months.
Oh, perfect.
So basically what you're doing is, and I'm sorry I keep interrupting, but basically you'll select and you'll say dry van within the last 30 days or flatbed within the last 30 days, and you'll select it and it'll give you a list of those. Right.
And if
I think at 30 days is a good threshold. I would love 90 days, but 30 days is a good threshold.
Okay.
Well, 90 days is even better because you got more time. The authority's been active longer, so a broker will be more willing to work with them.
And I think you'll like this. If you scroll down on the left-hand side some more, Charles, I want to show you something. You actually will have the ability to do company age too.
Company age, yeah. How old is the company? Less than 3 months, 3 to 6 months. So these filters are, and I'm sure you guys have added these filters over time based off of user input and things like that, right? Over time, okay.
Yep.
So,
and as you start adding filters, if you look up top, you know how it's like right up top. You have open deck trailers, flatbed trailers.
Right.
If you don't want anything, you can exit, take it out.
Let's do that. Let's take them out and let's start from scratch.
Start over. Exactly.
So I want a dry van. So give me that scenario. Who was that just asked that question? The young lady who just asked the question.
I did.
Okay, Esther,
but I'm gonna tell you, if this works, this is a lifesaver because I was dreading going through that FMCSA thing. It was just too much for me.
Wait a minute, hold up, time out.
I was about to hand in the towel.
Wait a minute,
I was like, oh Lord, Nate, I love you already.
What do you mean if it works? It's working.
Okay, so let's try some filters.
Okay, so give me this. So someone just asked, what website is this? This is eCarrier check. Okay, Mel, we're gonna explain what it is. Cause Nate, do I still have an affiliate link with you guys?
Yes, you do.
Okay. All right. So so Esther,
Mhm.
give me your
Let's
scenario
say,
carrier. What kind of
let's
equipment?
say, carriers locate, let's say I'm looking for reefers located in near, uh, Des Moines, Iowa, something like that. It doesn't, somewhere weird.
Okay. Des Moines, Iowa,
That,
located near to the
let's do
50 mile.
drive-ins. That's more, yeah.
Okay. So
Like,
we got to do the location. We got to do the
let's do no
location
more than
first.
70, Des Moines, no more than 75 miles, let's say.
Okay, 75 miles. So we got the
Mhm.
located near the city and the radius. So when we hit search, now we got to go into here
Yeah.
and choose equipment type. So you said what
We're doing
equipment type?
drive-ins. Out of Iowa, it's agriculture, so mostly drive-ins or reefers. So let's do drive-ins.
Okay, so drive vans. So we got the drive
Mhm.
van type, the drive van trailer. Equipment is a drive van.
Mhm.
No specific commodity that they may haul?
No.
Or no? Okay,
No.
that's fine.
It's mostly
We'll
corn, but
we'll
no,
skip
let's
that.
go. Mhm.
You want owner operators? You want a small fleet? What do you are you look? You just looking for an owner operator?
Give me
One.
all of them, all of them. Let me owner operator up to mid-size, both of
Okay.
the three.
Okay.
Oh,
Boom. Boom.
or
All
2
right.
to 5. That's it. We're good. Let's see. Recently active.
Recently active. They just got their authority, right?
Mhm.
And
Of course, I need DM. What would we put DMC number, or do we have to put that, or?
Nope.
Let me see
Nope.
Seymour. Let me see Seymour.
Yep,
What is
there you
Seymour?
go.
Oh, okay,
Seymour.
perfect.
Oh, so MX
Yeah,
is an authority out of Mexico. FF is a freight forwarder. Okay.
Yep.
okay, so MC number is fine.
MC number.
Okay.
So we got that. So we'll just show less.
Mhm.
Authority's active, obviously. You don't want obviously.
Yes,
Why
of
would you?
course.
Why would you get it? Why would you get an inactive authority? I don't know. And why would you? You can't get one apply that's pending. You're not going to be able to move freight. Broker's not going to move freight with them.
If,
So
even if you can't move freight, you can start massaging them. Like
Can
Yes.
forwarding them.
Can I interrupt really quick?
go ahead, Nate.
Mhm.
So that applied and pending could come handy for you for those
Yep.
of you that are looking for new carriers. So if you click applied pending, and if you look to the right on the carrier row here, Charles, there's going to be like a bell and then like an I with a line through it.
Right there.
Click that for me. So what this does, it's going to give you, pretty much what it's doing. It's monitoring that carrier, and you can pick
Yeah.
what you monitor. So if you monitor that carrier and you see that he's applied, well, guess what? Now that we're monitoring him, when he becomes active and he's ready to move loads, you'll get an email saying, this guy's ready to go. Call him up and say,
Amen.
hey, exactly. So that's where
Oh,
that
so
applied
it sends you an alert. Okay.
Exactly. So, and you
That's
can
really
uncheck that.
good.
I just wanted to give you an idea there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if you select that option,
But
okay, that's good.
but I don't want that. No, I don't want that for now.
Exactly.
Now
We want
let's
that.
do the
Okay,
active. Let's
okay.
do the active now.
But that's good that it's there. That's great.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm. Let's keep scrolling down.
All right. So high risk, low risk. Well, you want the low risk, obviously, right? Now
Yeah, of
what
course.
by that, Nate, high or low risk? As far as their CSA scores and all that stuff, safety ratings and all that stuff.
Yep. So we look at safety ratings, we look at inspections and crashes within the last year, and that's how we kind of come up with that hiring risk.
Okay, so we got
Mhm.
we'll just say low risk. We want the lowest ones. Okay, and then
Give
company.
give me less than 3 and 3. Give me less than all the way to 12.
Got it.
So do me a favor, get rid of I know we added recently active. Get rid of recently active.
Because
There you go.
Okay.
Because since we're flagging 6 to 12 months, I believe.
oh,
it
it'll be
doesn't-
it'll be a conflict. I got you.
So
Okay, I got
when
it.
you run searches on my platform, if you were to add like tanker and like let's say if we add something that doesn't go together, your results aren't gonna show anything. So that's what kind of what happened. That was a good
Understood.
example.
So if you select recently active,
Okay.
then you run the risk of cross-referencing with the 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, or whatever, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I don't have that many already. I only have like 5 so far.
Right. So these are the ones
It
you
keeps
have. So
filtering down.
well, everything else is pretty much self-explanatory. Truck axles, you want the basic, and then trailer length and all this other stuff. You want a 53 foot. That's going to go away. Okay,
Mhm.
uh,
So I only have 4. Now they're all in gray. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
so now Nate, explain. Let's go horizontally on the first row and explain all the
Yeah.
features here, so we can kind of get an idea.
Perfect. I'll go from left to right here to make it easy. So you're
Gotcha.
going to see types of equipment that carrier essentially says they have, and if the more inspections we see on them, the better story we can tell you about that carrier. Okay, so types of
Mhm.
equipment, and honestly, we threw in the pictures because Charles, we noticed that you like to show pictures, and we're like, we need to do this, so that's why that's there. Trucking company name.
You stole my idea, daggone it.
I didn't. I had to tell you. So there's their trucking company name, DOTMC. If you keep scrolling to the right there, pretty self-explanatory so far. The magnifying glass will actually take you out to, if they have a website. Not a lot of smaller carriers do. They may, but that's going to be there.
So
And
I right clicked and opened another tab so we can kind of see, and it just gives their
yeah,
company basically.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So
Des Moines,
that's that
Iowa.
magnifying glass there for you.
Yeah.
Then as we continue to roll right, there's our risk radar, SMS percentiles, right? Matching companies. So if you see anyone that has a number on that matching company and you click on that, and we don't have any on this example, but it's okay. But this is really to help the freight brokers I deal with every day to kind of understand, hey, they're matching companies because of multiple reasons. Sometimes carriers share equipment. Sometimes carriers share the same address, phone number, email. So those are kind of red flags for some freight brokers, hey, why are you sharing that? So that matches right there will just essentially pull up any matching company that is similar to Y&S Trucking LLC. Okay.
Double brokering potential. Double brokering.
Exactly. Authority, pretty self-explanatory. That check marks are saying they're active. No crashes within the last 12 months, it looks like, but they've had one inspection in the last 12 months.
Was it can you tell if it was a driver inspection or a vehicle inspection?
I believe we could see more of that in the carrier profile, and we can go through that too as well.
Okay.
So phone number, email there.
Right.
Obviously, Des Moines, Iowa, where they're from, 1 power unit. And that's going to be like their basic contact info. And this is a reminder. Let's say if you do call this trucking company and he says, hey, Samantha, I'm out of town till Friday. Can you call me back around noon and maybe we can talk more about how your dispatching company can help me? Well, if you click that, you can set a reminder to be like, hey, Samantha, you need to call Y&S Trucking. You can get reminded either phone, email, or text, and leave yourself a note to understand where that phone call left off. Okay. That's the reminder system.
I like that.
I needed that. I'm forgetful. So I told Jared, we got to do this. The little eye there, that's so you can monitor carriers. Now you can, there's a lot of settings there where you can monitor and what you want to monitor. And we can go through that another time too as well. But
okay.
The box there, simply if you want to click them and add them to a list, that's where you can click that box.
Right.
Okay. Now the 3 dots, this is very interesting and very helpful for dispatchers. If Samantha were to have Y&S Trucking and she's been, working with them, doing a great job, and she's like, you know what, it's time for me to add more carriers for me to dispatch for. Well, if you click those 3 dots there, and it's going to pull up one option that I think will catch your eye. I want to find similar carriers to Y&S Trucking because he's amazing. So why not find similar carriers to him? And if you click that for me, Charles, please.
I'm gonna right click and open another tab.
Perfect.
All right, there we go. And these are the similar carriers.
Exactly.
Well, 10 pages of them. So
yeah. Now these are just similar carriers by equipment, location, and also size and even commodity. So this is just another list for you to kind of start prospecting or calling and just start having those conversations. Hey, I'm dispatching for your carrier just like yourself in your area. I don't see why we're not working together, right? So have that conversation. Right. So
one of the first things that I noticed, and if I'm a dispatcher, I'm looking at all these red risks and then these inactive. So I'm gonna skip over those, obviously.
Yep.
I'm not, as a dispatcher, I'm not gonna like their risk category, they're disqualified. So
exactly.
And the reason is that there are no active operating authority. So it gives the detail, and you're sourcing this information from the governing body, which is the FMCSA, I'm assuming.
Exactly, exactly. And unfortunately, we don't have filters on this part of the site, so you can't filter out all the bad carriers, but you know, you can kind of pick and choose which ones you kind of want to go after as well. So there's 10 pages.
SMS stands for Safety Measurement System.
Yes.
Someone just asked. I'm
Good
typing in the
question.
chat. It just does the CSA scores, which is compliance, safety, and accountability. So,
Yep.
But okay, so let's go back to
out of, yep, we get back out of this page. So that was the 3 dots there that Charles pressed that brought down those options. The find matching shippers would be essentially where freight brokers and carriers can utilize to find direct shippers. Okay. So
yeah.
Obviously,
Let me pause here. Nate, Jason has his hand up. Jason.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, quick question for Nate. How soon does your system update from FMC SA? As soon as as soon as the FMCA yeah, and then it updates, or is it 24 hours, 48 hours, a day, a week? What are we looking at?
Great question. So when we're talking carrier inspections, we're going to wait about a month until we get that from the FMCSA. That's just because that's when they send it to us. Now, what is updated daily, which is a great question, is going to be their authority and their risk radar. Those are updated daily. I had a carrier call me yesterday saying, Nate, I have one inspection from last month. How come it's not in there? Well, we just haven't gotten that data yet. So we did do some digging and some diving into more of the FMCSA data. And we did see the inspections was there. So what we did is we manually changed it. So just giving you an idea there.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yes, great question. So those are the 3 dots. And now, Charles, what you can do as well, to the right of those 3 dots is an arrow there. Perfect. Click that for me. And this will take you into a carrier profile. You will get the point of contact. Obviously, there's their phone number, cell phone number. Sometimes it's the same. Sometimes they're different. Address, maybe you want to go up there and shake his hand, kind of make it personal. You can leave notes in here. We'll give you an idea of what list you put them on. So if you put them on list, you can leave, reviews on carriers. Maybe you didn't have a good interaction, and maybe you can help out the next dispatcher, right? And approving carriers, you're just approving, saying, they're safe enough to work with. They're on my fleet. I see a lot of dispatchers using that part there, freight brokers. Okay. But as we continue to scroll down, this is kind of my favorite part down here. This is more of a breakdown of the carrier itself. Okay. So you have driver mileage, cargo carried, operating, classification, stuff like that here. And then as we continue to scroll down here, there's going to be a map. And I love this map because literally everything I'm showing you here is going to help you sound even more fluent on that phone call. So if I were to talk to this trucking company, they're out of, Iowa, right? And it looks like, they're obviously pretty new, but this is going to show you where this carrier has been inspected at and give you a good feel if they're even going to want to run in that direction. Maybe a freight broker gave you a load to New York. Well, if this trucking company doesn't leave a state or maybe doesn't go that far, it wouldn't make sense, right? So this will give you a better, picture of where this carrier likes to run. So this is all in a carrier snapshot. Any questions so far? No questions yet, but yeah, so this is all very helpful information to kind of help that phone call go a little bit smoother. Or when you're talking with freight brokers, you can just let them know, hey, I got carriers that are running in this area constantly. Do you have anything, right? Do you have anything that makes sense, right? So all in the carrier snapshot there.
So let's do this now. Let's flip it a little bit. Let's say we got a carrier and the carrier likes to run in a specific area. Well, let's find some brokers who broker loads in that specific area. Ding, 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 ding. Right. So let's do that.
Let's do this. So we're in Des Moines,
everybody
Iowa.
understands. Here's a question. David says, how do you designate which carriers are hazmat?
Yeah,
that should have been in the filters, right?
Yep, we got a filter for hazmat. Yep.
Okay, so let's go back.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, David.
And in the filter, in the filters, you can put commodity. Can you put hazmat in the commodity search?
We could try it. But it's not going to do much because we only have 4 leads here.
Okay, got it.
But if you go down a little bit more, there's other options there.
Right there, hazmat.
Right.
Bam. Right there. So for this example, there's not.
Exactly. It's just not a good search for this, what we just did. So that's why.
Oh, so what is Mary just asked, what is hazmat? Hazmat is hazardous materials.
Yeah.
It's short for hazardous materials.
Mm-hmm.
So when you haul hazmat, hazardous materials, you can haul hazmat if it's like 999 or not 900. Yeah, 999 pounds or less. If it's 1,000 pounds or more, you have to have a designation and you have to have paperwork and placards on your trailer that you identify as a hazmat carrier. Because if you get pulled over, you got that, it's a wrap for you. So
hazmat's a different role to get in.
Yes, sir. You cancel Christmas. If you get pulled over and you don't have paperwork for hazmat and you carrying hazmat, cancel Christmas. Because it's over for you.
Yeah. So, but freight brokers.
Right. So so I'm gonna kill all this. So you want to find freight brokers now, right? So now we got, let's say we got a carrier in a specific location. They say, hey man, I only want to operate in the Midwest, like Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, that little surrounding area there. Can you find me some brokers that got loads in that area?
So good question. So if I were to find loads, since we're on the Des Moines, Iowa idea there. So a couple things, because we're talking about finding new carriers, why not find newer brokers too as well? You see how you can kind of all come together there? So if you look, we can do find brokers by location, find brokers or recently added brokers, okay? But we could simply just go to the top one, Charles, and we'll run this search really quick, find brokers by location. And I don't know if you've seen this update we got, and it's already on there, perfect. I think you'll love this.
What's the update?
I'll show you. You run this search really quick.
You want to stay Des Moines?
Yeah, let's stay Des Moines real quick.
Okay, so let's search.
So we are building this massive scraper that we want to help you essentially do less homework, going here. We want to try to bring it all to you. That way you can start clicking. But essentially, here's our brokers with active broker of authority in Des Moines or near, within that radius. Now, you had a good question there. Can I find brokers that have loads here? Well, we don't have that data, but what you can simply do is start calling those brokers out of that area. Most brokers have local freight, right? So you can start having that conversation. But on that left-hand side of the filters there, we got company age. We do have brokers with assets. So those are brokers that have, trucks and trailers, right? So that's brokers with assets. And continue to scroll down there. It says from the web. And what I'll do is I'll have you remove those other filters really quick. Yeah, remove those for me. And I want you to click on from the web there. It says has website. And I want to see if we have, okay, perfect. So this is our goal, what we're going to be doing for every broker. Now we're not completely done yet, but look at these lists of brokers in and around Des Moines, that area. Well, now we have their website, they're linked in there. And then we also can show you their specialties. So, like Milestone Corporation, specialties, van, flatbed, reefer, tanker, right? But to the right there, there's the broker phone number, their email, their website, and LinkedIn. And then this will allow you to start having those conversations, right? And to reach out to the brokers that just make more sense to you.
Okay, Esther, got your hand raised.
Hi guys, I have another question. Let's say here in the Milestone Corporation, it is a broker. However, they do have 40 power units. Would that be a broker we reach out to, Charles, or should we just leave them alone because they can run themselves?
No, you can still reach out to them, but just because they have 40 assets, they may have shippers that have more shipments than the assets that they have. They may have 100 shipments that go out a month, but they cover, so 40 of them get covered by their trucks first. As a broker, if I got 40 trucks, I'm covering my trucks first. And then whatever's left over, I'm going to broker them out to other owner operators, which is your guys.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yep. So this is what we got going that we're building at the moment. But if you're not finding a whole list of leads like we did right here, it's a small list, but you can still call them or email and start having those conversations. But you can, like I said, simply get rid of the has website and then start adding those other filters to help you build that list. And you can see right under from the website filter, there's like broker specialties.
Right.
And so, like I said, once we get every broker essentially scraped and get all that data back, these filters will look like a charm.
In hot shots or box trucks or
Right.
stuff like that. Well, this one don't have one, but
Yeah.
or specialize in certain commodity, Sprinter vans, or well, we got Des Moines, so there's no hot shots are coming out of Des Moines and no Sprinter van
Exactly.
coming.
Yeah.
So you got to
Where
make
are
sure
hot shots? Where are hot shots out of more?
hot shots, mainly hot shots are like out of the Southwest, like Houston area, Texas,
Yeah.
some
Okay.
part of Southeast Florida, coming out of the Virginia, Maryland area, DC, DMV area, and a little bit of the Midwest, Northeast a little bit.
Okay.
So,
I have to remember those.
Chaucer, got your hand raised.
Yeah, hello, good evening, Charles. And hi, Nate, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I use your platform and I absolutely love using your platform. I definitely shouted you out on my YouTube channel as a website to go to for dispatchers who are looking for carriers. So I just wanted to put that out there first.
Thank you so much. Bless your heart. I appreciate that so much.
You
Thank
are
you.
more than welcome.
I love it.
So I have 3 questions, guys. So I'm just gonna hop right into it. Can you explain to me the colors? Like when I see yellow, you know, I think caution. If I see red, you know, then I think negative, but there's no green. What is the color scheme here? Does it symbolize anything? Because yellow is even looking like it's on someone who doesn't have an active authority. So could you explain what the colors represent?
So the colors aren't really going to represent much on the matches. That's just indicating that, hey, there is a matching company. Now we could do this. This is actually a great example. Charles, you can pick a random broker and click on the matches on that number. Yeah, click that for me here. And scroll up a little bit there, sir. So this is what this is going to do, great question, is show you what companies are matching up to that broker and why. And at the bottom there, those 2 companies that match up to that broker because of, if you hover on the left-hand side there, it's because of address, phone number, and then below is actually equipment. So that's what we're showing. So the colors on this don't necessarily mean anything. It's just indicating that there is a matching company. That's a great question too, actually.
That is a great question.
Yeah.
That is a
I
great question.
I would be skeptical, or I would be turned off by the red, like he is, which we all should. So but we also have added some details on why they are in that red and why they're risky. And so the risk radar is where you'll see probably the color changes. I think we have green and maybe red, definitely red, and then maybe gray. But other than that, the other colors really are going to just be the same and just show you an indicator of what's going on.
Yeah, because this one says right here under this broker's authority, it's been revoked back in October of last year, so they shouldn't be used for interstate transport. So, or brokering, I should say. So, yeah, right. I like this new user experience, Nate.
Thank you, Charles. We tried to make it.
I noticed something too down here on the broker side. I saw warehousing on the broker specialty. I just purchased a 24,000 square foot warehouse. So, and we're going to be doing transloading and container freight stations where we're going cross docking and stuff like that. So we're getting that stuff together. But this is interesting. So I might have to go in there and for my area to see some warehouse possibilities and transloads and container freight stations. So I need to write that down. So
love it, man. I'm glad we talked over this. It's great.
Yeah.
And I think, just kind of clarify for everyone, it's a great website. Now, are you going to have to pick up the phone and start making those calls and have the conversations? Yes. I mean, you'll have a better, success rate, in my opinion. But I think we're all on the right track here. What if we start, gathering list of carriers that are recently added? They're trying to get their business going too. I had a carrier call me yesterday saying, Nate, no one wants to work with me. I need a dispatcher. You know what I mean? So they're out there. Those carriers are out there. They want you.
If that ever happens, Nate, give me a call.
I know.
So
and they're calling me.
So I can send them to funnel them through this course, through these
To
students.
us, yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
We're
and
ready.
what I'll do, I'll vet them out before I give them, because I want to say, okay, what equipment type do you have? Who are you? What's going on? And because I'm not going to just send anyone over here, because I want to make sure that the students are successful, right? Because they can say I need a dispatcher, but they could be having a horse and carriage. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to. So I want to pre-vet them out before I send them to the guys and girls. So any questions, guys? This is good information.
Yep, and you can do the same thing with brokers. You can add them to a list. You can leave notes on them. If you can, just like the carrier profile, the brokers have their own profile too. So, honestly, before making a call to any of these brokers, go look and see who's the owner of that company. I was making sales calls to brokers this morning, and I was running these same searches. And if you click that arrow again to the right there on that broker row, yep, keep going to the right there, right next to those three dots.
Oh, the broker profile, yeah.
Yep. And this is what I was doing this morning, literally. I'm looking at, okay, I need to call Heather. Hey, Heather, what are you doing to find carriers? What are you doing to find shippers, right? I'm having those conversations, and I'm using my own data to start these conversations. So
Right. Okay. Brittany, got your hand raised up, and then Chasa. Brittany?
Yeah, so if you go back one page and actually on this 10, on the 10-4 logistics, why does it say not authorized underneath there? But it said that they have an authority check.
Broker
That's a great
authority.
question.
That's broker authority.
Right. This company has an active authority since 2021.
But they're not authorized for hire.
Yeah. So they're not asset based, probably. And
they probably used to be. And maybe that's a glitch that we got to get off. They probably could have had assets, but they're not authorized for hire as far as moving loads or stuff like that. But they do have broker authority. And actually, there's another good example towards the bottom, the 712 Logistics LLC. Like, we'll show you, okay, like they're going to have some of their authority is probably going to expire. So these are all active authorities, they're active brokering. And on that left-hand side there on the filters, we have it automatically clicked on broker authority status to active. And we probably should reword that to make it less confusing, because brokers aren't really operating, they're just active brokering status. So maybe that's something we could do to kind of clarify things there.
Okay, cool.
That's Chasa. A good catch.
Chasa?
Yeah. So my second question is, like I said, I use your platform. The one thing I love about your platform is that you can put notes in after you speak to a driver. Like, that's golden. But I wanted to know, is there anywhere that you can filter just going to your notes on your platform?
That's a good question. So the only way to do this is to make sure you add them to a list. So if you leave a note on a carrier, I would make sure to add them to a list. And then if you want to go find all the carriers you did leave notes on, you can go to that list. Now, let's say if you add a note on a carrier, but don't add them to a list. What will happen is later down the road, when you run that same search, you're going to come across that carrier and you're going to see a little note icon to the left of that bell. And it'll notify you saying you left a note.
Right. Okay.
That's a great question, though.
Okay.
And maybe that's something we add. Honestly, that's a great input there.
Thank you. And can I ask my last question? And that is, and on your platform, it shows how you are vetting the carriers. Is there anything that you have that shows us how to vet the brokers? Like, is there any kind of scoring?
That's
anything like that?
You're bringing the house tonight. I love it. So we know there's some things that we're missing. We don't have like broker credits, but you can leave reviews on brokers. So just like we did with the carriers, you have the kudos and freight flops. You can leave notes, and that's throughout the whole website and throughout the whole community. So if you leave a note, and let's say Johnny gets on and runs that same search and finds that same broker, he'll know that you left a note. And then he can read it saying, oh, this broker is probably a double broker, or the broker just wouldn't stick with their word, right? So that would probably be the only way to do some of that vetting until we can gather or bring in some more information on the broker side of our data.
So if you register, so what do we
Okay.
have registering with us? What is that ELLC 10? Is that like 10% off, or what is that? What was
Yes, sir.
that?
10% off.
Okay, so if you order through, if you decide to get this for yourself through Exodus, you get 10% off of that. You want to go into your price points, Nate, a little bit?
Yeah. And Jennifer, great question. Is there a testing period for eCarrier platform? No, but you can call me anytime and we can jump on Zoom calls and we could run some searches, call carriers. You know, Jared, my the owner, he'll love to do some cold calls with you. We all do it. So we have two plans. We have a Logistics Plus, which is our $119.99 a month. We have no contracts. It's like if you sign up with Spotify, you get charged once a month. The Logistics Plus plan, you'll have access to our shipper data, freight brokers, and carriers, and our phone technology. Now, I understand that a lot of you probably don't need our shipper data at this moment. So we have a basic plan, a standard plan, which is $89.99, and that's not adding in the 10% because I'm bad at math. But if you use that 10%, that $89.99 will drop down, right? And again, that's monthly. So the basic plan, $89.99, you'll have access to carriers and brokers. Everything that we just did tonight, you'll have access to that.
Okay.
And we did drop a free service of vetting carriers. So if you go to eCarrierCheck.com, you can actually vet carriers for free there now. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Charles. Perfect. And if you can scroll down, you can see how there's the, search carrier directory. You can start typing in MC DOT numbers there and away you go, right? And then here is where you'll see more of the platform in itself, explaining our, what we do, how we do it. We have demos every Monday night. So if you want more in-depth demo, go book a demo and just go to eCarrierCheck.com, what Charles is at, and schedule yourself a demo. I have recorded demos. So if you don't want to join me on a live one, you can watch a recorded one. And I actually have demos for dispatchers, freight brokers, and carriers. Yep, there's our pricing there. Perfect.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I said, if you guys do end up signing up, make sure you use that first link that Charles put there with the ELLC 10, because that would get you that small discount. So.
Yeah, Esther, you get so the link that gets you the discount is with, let me log out of this, by the way. I don't want to be in here anymore. Is this ELLC link that I'm going to put in here right now.
Yep. And Charles, could you go back to the middle tab that just says eCarrier check? I guess, sorry, maybe it's the go to the pricing one. I apologize. I was going to show Jennifer how to sign up for a demo. If you scroll up to the top there, and if you go to dashboard, if you click that for me, you'll see the drop down box. It should bring some drop downs.
Right here.
Yep, you'll see watch a demo, success stories, stuff like that. So you can watch a pre-recorded. There's my ugly face there. Just tell us about yourself, what you're looking for. We'll send you one through email. Okay, so when you sign up for one, recorded one, make sure you check your junk. For some reason, they go there sometimes. Okay, perfect, Jennifer. And then if you scroll down even more, this is where you can sign up for live demos. So here's the live demos. We do them every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Okay. And we do go on YouTube Live every Friday, sometimes Wednesdays, and we're open to questions, and we do a lot of live phone calls on there as well. And we try to bring on people that will add value. So
when is my next show?
That's a good question. Whenever you want to get on, we'll get you on.
Next week is my off training week, so I'm available then.
Okay. Awesome.
Someone had their hand up. Just reach out to me via email. I think it was Brittany. You had your hand raised.
I did, but then he answered my question. So.
Okay. What time on Mondays? You said 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Eastern. There. Yep. 6 p.m.
So
Eastern.
I do actually have a question. Sorry. So whenever you do the live, are they free or do you just have to? They are
free.
free? Okay.
Yep, they're
Yeah.
free. You can sign up for every Monday if you enjoy me that much. You can sign up for every Monday.
So you just click here, you fill out your information, or you set it,
Yep.
select the time at 6 p.m. and then you just put your information in there. So book, yeah, okay. There you
And
go.
if you guys sign up with the program and you forget to use Charles's link, just call me up, email me and say, hey, Nay, I forgot to add this. I'll add it to your account. I have no issues with doing that. So
yeah, just part of Exodus LC.
Yep.
You know. So, and I may put this video on my YouTube channel, Nate, where it's going to hit 31,000 subscribers. So
I love it. Yeah, you
that'll
bring the
be
house,
more.
man.
That'll be more. And this is on the dispatch side. Then there's 8,000 subscribers on the freight brokers. We didn't even talk about the freight broker side. We may have to do a freight broker one on our freight broker class. We got my next one is Friday, but where we talk about eCarrier check from a broker's perspective. So that would mean finding shippers, because most new brokers want to find shippers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you guys are dispatchers, so you want to help your carriers. You want to find carriers first, and then help them by finding brokers. And we did 2 demonstrations, right? As far as let me log back into mine. As far as finding the carrier and then finding a broker in the area of the carrier that may have loads, right? So we went through all the filters, right? In the example, it was actually great. Actually, I'm gonna put this on the this is going to be on the YouTube channel, definitely, because more people need to be exposed to this type of software in this industry as dispatchers who need these types of services. And not one time did we mention in the eCarrier check example a load board whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
So we just source the carriers, and then we source the brokers, and then we're going to bring the 2 together. That simple, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for your time. I don't know if there's any more questions for me. I'm always available by email, and I'll throw that in the chat, and along with my phone number.
There you go.
Thank you, David.
Yep, Nate, you've been good. Tell I don't know, Jared needed a break, I guess, but
yeah, funny enough, he went on vacay too. He should be back tomorrow, I hope. I haven't seen him for 2 weeks. I was on vacation last week. Now he is, so we'll get it figured out.
yeah, you guys need break. Everybody needs a break. You know,
yeah.
My wife tells me to need a break. I haven't.
I agree.
So yeah, this warehouse is kicking my tail, but hey, thanks, Nate. Thanks to everybody. You welcome. So any final questions? I'm not gonna keep you guys too long. I was gonna stay to the entire time, but I wanted to get Nate on here to get some value on eCarrier check. Shiante, hey, 757, what's up?
AJ, great question. So summarize the website with all this, what all services does provide for us. So in a nutshell, we are a lead generation platform. We want to help you build relationships with carriers and freight brokers. Now, I'm not trying to get you off the load board, but I want to help you make your life easier with the load board. It does go hand in hand, but our goal is to help you build relationships and find carriers and brokers, maybe in your area that you didn't know about, that you can start building that relationship. That's the best way to summarize it, is build relationships, help you generate leads. There's a lot of platforms out there where you can buy a list of leads, or you're on Facebook. You know, I'm still a big fan of getting on Facebook, but this is another way for you to source leads.
Very good. And I see some analytical tools here, like the weekly diesel averages and active carrier authorities and things like that. Will you be adding rates in the different zones, spot rates, like pulling it from like that directory or trend lines or anything like that in the future?
I will be having that conversation about the trend lines tomorrow, because I love that addition. As far as like rates and stuff like that, that's definitely in the talks. That's on my programmer's big whiteboard on the other side of this wall. So it's there. And that's what I love about eCarrier check, is if you guys have or something that you would like us to add, if it makes sense for everyone, we will add it. So we just love to hear input if we could. So
yeah, and then the weather one, I see the weather. Is this NWS? Is coming from National Weather Service, or is it pulled in from?
It looks like Wendy.com. I'm not sure where my programmer pulled
Okay,
that.
yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it, Wendy. Okay, I didn't even notice that. Okay. Okay. All right, Nate. Thank you for your time. I want to get into some documents.
One more question, Charles.
Okay.
That 89 versus the 119, is that a feature difference subscription?
Yes. So the Logistics Plus there, sir, you will have an addition of our phone technology and the shipper data, and you can upgrade and downgrade your plan anytime. So I understand we're just really working with carriers and brokers. So that $89.99 plan there, the standard plan, will basically be kind of your dispatcher plan, if you will. And if you guys go into the freight brokering world, it's an easy upgrade. You can either call me or just simply do it from your account.
Yeah. Can someone ask a question? Can carriers request dispatcher service on this platform?
Yeah,
That'd be something you can add. Can you add that feature?
So right now to the right, Charles, you see where like that little bell is and the question mark and like the chat box?
Right here, yeah.
So if you click that chat box for me, the top one, if we have carriers on the site, I always tell the carriers, it looks like Charles needs to make his Freight Talk name, but what you can do, if carriers get on that chat box and say, I need a dispatcher, are there dispatchers on the site? I need someone. You can communicate with everyone that's subscribed to me or on our platform in that Freight Talk, that chat room.
Okay, Freight Talk name. What is my Freight Talk name? Exodus, I guess. I mean, it could be anything, right?
Yeah, it could be anything. I think no one else should have Exodus, in my opinion. You should be unique, so.
Okay, Exodus Dispatch.
And you can communicate with me on there. If you have a question, shoot me a message on there or shoot me an email.
I'm trying to see, because it has a number of characters here. All right. All right, there we go.
There you go.
And now you're in it.
Right.
So now we can see, we can chat in here. Okay, good. Yeah, I haven't even been in here in a while.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Nate, you killing it, man.
Thanks, man. I don't know if you remember my first day on, in your class with Jared. I mean, I'm a way different man now.
I see.
So
I see.
I've made some mistakes and we're getting better. And I hope everyone, gets better here as well. So
yeah. I see you and you, Nate, and you got Shaggy with him and his team got several accounts doing their thing with it.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah. Okay, Nate. I'll get off it with you now, Nate. I'll reach out to you. I'm gonna put this on the YouTube channel. And then okay.
All right, Charles. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the kind words and the great questions. There's a few things on here that I didn't know. So Charles, you taught me a lot of things too. So I appreciate you. And Charles, I'll reach out to you later this week, man.
Okay, no worries.
All right. Thanks, guys. See
you. Have a good one. Appreciate you as always.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. The one thing I want to do, someone asked a good question because we got some new dispatches on here. This is eCarrier check. I'm gonna log out of eCarrier check, but Shante, you had your hand raised. I did see that. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Charles. How you doing?
Hey.
So I was scrolling through the Instagram reels the other day, and I came across a video where a driver was stopped because he didn't have on a seatbelt, which led to beer cans was found in his cooler, which led to he had a warrant in the state of Georgia, which led to he didn't even have a CDL license.
Wow.
So how was he able to get a load with no CDL, and what happens to that load? Because they took him to jail.
Wow. That's a great question. That there had to be some kind of inside thing going on with that, because I can't see a broker unless the driver, is it an owner operator or was it a company driver hauling for somebody that they work for?
it didn't even specify all of that. It was just a officer saying that he was stopped because he was not wearing a seatbelt, and then all those other things were
right transpired. So the first thing, the red flag is the officer, either a DOT officer or a state trooper, they probably just went berserk after the no seatbelt. Okay, that was a red flag. Then they probably did some inspected the truck and then all these other things. But I can't see it being an owner operator with a load. I can only see it being a company driver that had a load that they was hauling for a company. But now it's going to come back on the company because the company is going to be at fault too for letting a non-CDL driver transport goods on the roads without having a CDL, a commercial driver's license. I can't see it being an owner operator getting a load from a broker because that truck driver has to be vetted, right? They have to have an authority. The broker has to make sure that they have an authority. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. It has to be. If I was a betting man, I would say it had to be a company driver. It could not have been an owner operator. It could not have been. I can't imagine it. So, Brittany.
This is probably a dumb question, but I'm just not really understanding the invoicing part of it. So like after you book a load and you have a driver and they are already doing that, how does that work in the end? Like,
so as far as a dispatch service, let's say I'm the driver, you're my dispatcher. Once I deliver a load, and you're gonna know that I delivered a load because you're following me. Like you know when you booked the load for me, you got the rate confirmation for booking of that load, so you know when it picks up, when it picks up and when it delivers. So I tell you, the load, I'm delivering the load. Drivers will tell their dispatchers that, but you will invoice your carrier either through PayPal or Square, whatever invoicing system you're using, QuickBooks or what have you, once the driver delivers, right? And then the driver will pay you typically when they get paid, because drivers get paid one of three ways. They get paid directly by the shipper, the customer. They get paid by the broker if it's a brokered load, or they get paid if they have what's called a factoring company, if they get paid through a factoring company. In any case, whichever one of those three pay the driver, it is then you get paid by that driver. You can send the invoice well before then, but they won't pay it until they get the money to pay you from that particular job, from that particular shipment. And then you go ahead.
So, sorry, what you're saying is, so after the driver delivers a load, where they deliver the load to, they pay the driver and the driver pays me?
No. They deliver the load to the receiver. They pick the load up from the shipper. They deliver the load to the receiver. The receiver is going to give them a copy of what's called the BOL, the bill of lading. It's going to turn into what's called a POD, proof of delivery. That is what the driver uses to invoice whatever party owes them for that delivery, which is either, in most cases, is going to be a brokered load.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
So that POD or that BOL, that signed BOL or POD, is the driver's receipt or invoice that they can use to get paid by the broker, the factoring company, or the direct shipper. One of those three parties that pays the driver, whoever they're dealing with. And then it is once the driver gets paid by one of either those three, you get paid as the driver. The driver is going to always pay you, the carrier, because that's who you have the contract. That's who you have the contract with. That's who you have the dispatcher agreement with. You don't have, as a dispatcher, you don't have a dispatcher agreement, or you don't get paid by the broker. You don't get paid by the shipper. But in some cases, you can be paid by the factoring company if the factoring companies has that as a service where they pay the driver and the dispatcher at the same time. Some factoring companies, like the one that we work with on our platform called 7 Oaks, they have a system where if you bring a driver as a dispatcher to that factoring company and that driver is vetted and approved by the factoring company 7 Oaks, when the driver turns in their invoice for payment to 7 Oaks, they'll pay the dispatcher at the same time as they pay the driver. That's a beautiful concept, because now you ain't got to worry about whether the driver's going to pay you or not after delivery, right? So
yeah, that was my main concern about having a driver and then waiting for them to pay me.
right, that is a great concern. You can also do some dispatchers, now this is a risky thing to do, but some dispatchers do what's called a credit card authorization when they set up a contract between them and that driver. Right? They'll do a credit card authorization. I think we have the form in our tools and resources right here.
Yes, it is.
Credit card authorization, where when you send a dispatcher packet or a dispatcher agreement to the driver, you also can include as a safety net for you to protect your interests, credit card authorization in case the driver doesn't pay you. If they opted into the credit card authorization, then you can just charge their card and get your payment that way. Most drivers are going to say, no, you're crazy, forget that. So they'll opt out. But it's just a safety net. And you got to explain it to the driver in such a way like, look, I've had a history, or I'm just trying to protect my interests. I know that you will pay me, but this is just a safety net, and this is just reassurance, a backup, just in case you don't. I can just charge the credit card on file that you're going to put here if you don't pay me, right? So that's another option. Or then work with the factoring company. So
Okay, so what if someone does have that and they opt out of the card payment form, but they still don't pay you? Then what? Then what would you do to still get your payment?
great question. So I've had one case where that happened with me personally. It was on a cheap load, $1,500. I charged 10%. So I was due $150. So if it's not that much, in most cases, most dispatchers is going to eat that amount and then not deal with that driver ever again, right? That is the one main, and I would say only, risk in this industry as a dispatcher that you're taking with a driver who don't pay after you book them a load, right? Now you can go extreme with them and go after them, go to the FMCSA, but the FMCSA is going to say, you can file something with the FMCSA, a complaint or whatever, but the FMCSA is probably not going to go with you because they're going to say, well, did this driver do anything that involved safety? No, he just didn't pay me, because the FMCSA is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They can care less if a driver didn't pay a dispatcher. So going after the FMCSA may not solve your problem. Then going after their insurance for non-payment, the insurance company is probably going to say the same thing. So your only other option to recoup whatever monies that is small claims, right? Then the question becomes, well, is the cost to file in the court small claims greater than the cost of what the driver owed you when you booked the load? You see? So sometimes you got to eat that. That's the only risk in this part of the transportation industry as a dispatcher that you're going to be taking if you have a driver that's not going to pay you. Now, here's a way to mitigate that. If I'm a driver and you're booking loads for me and you're averaging 8,000 to 10,000, let's say that I'm gonna be realistic because right now the rates are down. So 6,000 to 8,000 for a drive-in. If you're averaging that for me, why on God's green earth would I stop that by not paying you? Right? I want that to continue, especially if the rates are down. I'm trying to eat, because a lot of drivers are shutting their companies down because they're losing money. They don't know how to properly manage their expenses. They're going under. If I got a dispatcher that's averaging me between $6,000 to $8,000 or $7,000 to $9,000 a week, why would I mess that up? That's the logic I would look at it from as a driver, right? So there's several ways you can look at this, but that is the one risk that you will enter, though, worrying about the driver not paying you. You just got to make a decision. Do you want to eat that and then continue to deal or not deal with that driver, move on to the next driver? So, all right.
Yeah, and then AJ and Jennifer also had some good questions too, that they posted in the chat.
Also, once we perform our service per load, should we expect? Yeah. So as a dispatch service, AJ, you set up the terms of your payment. You can say payment after each load. You can say payment at the end of the week for X amount of loads. You determine how you want to set up, because it's your company. So you have the authority or the power to determine how you want to get paid. When I was dispatching about 6 or 7 years ago, after every load I booked, I invoiced the carrier. I didn't accumulate a number of loads and then invoice them after a week or a week and a half. I invoiced them after each load. That way, in case they don't pay me, it won't be such a hard fall. The fall won't be as great. It'll be a short fall, you know. I may have booked a $3,000 load at 10%. That's $300, and then I'll invoice them for that one load, as opposed to booking 3 or 4 loads at $3,000. Now the numbers are getting higher. So, small claims in your state or the driver's state. That's a great question. It'll be in your state, because you are the one. You're the claimant. You're the one who's filing the claim. You have the issue and the complaint. So it's got to come out of your state, Jennifer. And then what is an authority? An authority, and so motor carriers and freight brokers have what's called an operating authority. It is for the motor carriers or the truck drivers, it is the ability to transport freight for a fee from getting those loads from the broker. That's what an authority is. It gives them the authority to operate a commercial vehicle to make money transporting goods. That's what the operating authority means. Okay, Esther, Daylon, and Leah. So Esther, you got your hand up first. Go ahead, Esther.
It was to address the same question regarding payment. I think I don't know whether it's a good strategy or not, Charles. You'll tell me. I think for me, that's why it's best to get new guys, new people with new authority that you can kind of shape them and put them directly into factoring if need be, so that I can ensure that I get my money right away. Because I've heard horror stories. And I don't mind the other way you did it, Charles, too. Bill after every load. It could get cumbersome, but I think it's best to do it that way too. So I don't know, as new dispatchers, and especially the way the market is right now and the bad rep dispatchers have, I wouldn't want anyone to run on me neither. So factoring, do they pay in factoring, do they pay the driver versus the fee? They pay the entire thing, or they pay like 90%, 10 or something like that? How do they do it
So with
in
factoring,
factoring?
if you got a factory and the factory company is willing to pay the dispatcher and the carrier, let's say we found a load of $3,000, you booked it and you brought that carrier to factory and you charge 10%. So that means that you are due. How much are you due as a dispatcher for booking
300, 300,
So
300 from the gross. That's from the
right,
gross.
so correct. So when the carrier delivers that load and invoices the factory for payment, the factoring company is going to pay them $2,700 and pay you $300, minus
Okay.
their percentage for factoring.
Okay, perfect. And at that
So
time, do we also submit our dispatching agreement to the factoring company? How do we
no, you
handle
do
that?
not. Your dispatch agreement does not go to the factoring company. They can care less about a dispatcher agreement. The dispatch agreement is only between the contract between you and the motor carrier. When the
So how
factoring
would
company gets into a relationship with a dispatcher, they're gonna leverage that through the carrier. So you're gonna bring a carrier to a factoring company that participates in paying a dispatcher also, like Seven Oaks. So here's the process. You bring them you bring the carrier to the factoring company. Factoring company gives them an application. They give them an application to fill out. They vet them out. In the application, they're going to say, hey, Mr. Carrier, that we're getting ready to approve, do you work with a dispatching company? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, what's their name? What's the name of the company? Contact person, phone number, email. And what do they charge? Do they charge a flat fee or a percentage? Percentage.
Okay.
What's that amount? 10%. Okay, so now they get all that data in their factory company about the carrier and the dispatcher. They process that form. They approve the carrier for factoring. The first time that carrier turns in the first invoice to the factoring company for payment, that factoring company is going to look at the application, see that they have a dispatch company, reach out to the point of contact for the dispatcher. Remember, they put the name and email in there. They're gonna say, hey, dispatcher, this carrier that you just brought to us just turned in their first load for payment, their first invoice for payment. Can you please provide us with a either a canceled check or an account number and a routing number so we can wire you your $300 or whatever the amount is.
Okay, okay.
That simple.
I get it. Okay, thank you. I was worried about that part. Thank you so much.
Yep, that's simple. How do I know that? Because that's how it worked with me. D-Line. D-Line and then
Hey there,
Will.
Charles. Yeah, no, I've got you. Sorry, it took me a second to unmute you there. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, hi, how you doing?
How you doing?
Good. Quick question. So this kind of is all encompasses a few of these questions that I've asked, and it may have been answered already, so bear with me. I apologize. I'm actually a CDL driver right now, currently just finished picking up a hazmat load.
Okay.
But my question was, you know, all encompassing, like for, you know, having your own business as you know, as an independent dispatcher. Now with lower rates, the way the market is, you know, so on and so forth, and you know, the difficulty or maybe, you know, the hurdle of acquiring, you know, multiple carriers, you know, to get your business ongoing and having, you know, I guess with being your also proprietor or your, you know, one person dispatching, having, you know, anywhere between 2 to 3 to 5 trucks, whatever, that can be handled appropriately. In that kind of scenario, what is the best option, the best recourse that we have as new dispatchers when, say, you know, there are owner operators that are being shut down or being closed down or walking away from it and so on and so forth? How do we maintain that fleet with the balancing act of having enough carriers, but also trying to market and try and create more, you know, bring more carriers on, but, you know, between them going to home time and it's not like, what is there a particular type of goal? Like, I mean, should we be looking at more like 7, 8 to 10 carriers to bring on because we're only going to end up managing 4 or 5 at any given time? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, as opposed to just reaching a goal of 5 and then, you know, here we go. Like somebody has 2 of them have a breakdown or so on and so forth. And then now we're down at 3 and now they're not making money. I'm not making money. So what's the kind of, is there other options? Is there places that we can go to and like hit low boards and say, hey, you know, I need an emergency carrier here, or I need something like to try and cover that basis, if you follow what I'm saying?
I do follow what you're saying. You want to overcompensate in your numbers, but then balance it out as carriers come and go. But you want to maintain a certain number, like 3 to 5 carriers. So I always say for dispatchers, particularly new dispatchers, before you scale your company and bring on sub dispatchers to help you dispatch, you want to, what is your sweet spot number that you can handle multiple dispatchers? What I mean by that. So is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? So if you can dispatch for your 3rd, 4th, or 5th dispatcher, or whatever that number is, the same way, give them the same customer service as you did for your first dispatcher, then that's your stopping point. Once you get past the point where you can't provide the same level of service for your 5th carrier as you can for your first carrier, then it's time to consider scaling and bringing on sub dispatchers, whether or not carriers come and go, because that's going to happen. You're going to have what's called attrition in the industry. Carriers are going to either get tired of you get tired of them, the relationship may dissolve, or whatever the reason is. But as long as you keep the same level of service to the carrier, however many number of carriers that you can handle by yourself as one person before you decide to scale, only you will know that, and you'll feel that as you're dispatching for them, because there's only so many hours in a day. You can handle only so many carriers by yourself at one time, whether they come or go or not. You have to determine what that number is. It could be 3 for you. It could be 4 for you. It could be 5. It could be more. But the one thing you don't want to do is overcompensate. And then when you overcompensate the numbers, then someone's going to lose out in the service. One of those carriers is going to lose.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, I get that 100%. No, I mean, that makes, that makes complete sense. I was just wondering if there was, more or less of an avenue that we could take if, we do find ourselves, because look at, the ideal purpose of starting this company is to be able to work on our own, right? And be independent and have our own business and be able to do that. So you're going to be putting yourself in a position where, okay, we might have 4 or 5, carriers that everything's going well with, but then like you said, things happen, there's things are going to be moving. People could be leaving the field for whatever, or they might be down, or a truck might be down or something. I was just more or less wondering if there's more like a place like, you know, not necessarily a load board, but if there's different avenues that we would take or techniques, so to speak, to be able to, you know, be resourceful to try and fill that gap or that void, you know, in between acquiring a carrier or anything of that sort. Because, you know, yeah, I might only be able to, you know, handle 4 or 5 at a time. But if I have 3 that drop off in a week, I still have a mortgage to pay, right? So it's more or less like, you know, how do you fill that gap? Is I guess is what I was getting at. Like, you know, is there different techniques or something or different places that we can look to be able to fill that void for maybe that week or 2 until we're able to acquire another carrier or, you know, of that sort. So it's kind of gets what I was kind of steering towards.
So part of well, that's a great point you make. So part of filling that gap in that particular scenario you just mentioned, you got 3 to 5, but then 2 fall off. Then if you have sub dispatchers under you and they're working some of the carriers that you may have brought in, but you're giving them the majority of the percentage of that for that carrier, but you're getting some of that money, it's residual income because they're working the carrier, but you brought them to them under your company. So you're getting a percentage of that. So let's say your company charges 10%. You brought 3 extra carriers on. You got 5 yourself. You got a sub dispatcher who has 2 or 3, and they're.
So what happens if we have no sub dispatchers? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a little break there in my microphone, so I apologize. But what happens if we don't have any sub dispatchers? If it's just us ourselves, like is there any kind of resources or any kind of techniques that we would do to be able to you know, compensate that if we don't have anything to kind of fall back on without just being left in the wind and, you know, only making, you know, $1,000 for that month when I need to keep myself at like say 4,000 or 5,000, you know?
Right. So Jennifer just said have some standbys. I don't know about standbys because it's going to be hard having carriers as standbys because they're going to want loads. They're going to be moving. Yeah. They're not going to want to stand by. They're going to want to have their trucks full and making money. They're going to want the same level of service that you're giving the first 2 or 3 carriers as you would to them. They wouldn't want to stand by and wait for loads unless they don't move as frequently as your normal carriers would. So that's a challenging concept, Delando.
Yeah, because I was kind of curious of, you know, like if there was just, you know, there might be like, because, you know, a lot of people utilize, you know, social media, or a lot of people use, there's, you know, all these load boards and things of this sort. Like you would think that, you know, maybe there's carriers saying, hey, I have downtime there, I can't, you know, fulfill this particular thing, but I need a load. I mean, they might be, you know, saying, hey, I'm in Chicago, but I've got to get out of here. You know, but there's whoever I work with or whatever doesn't have a load. Is there anybody that like, you know what I mean? If there was some place that we could go to kind of, you know, kind of just, you know, pick somebody up to fill that gap. And yes, in a more of an emergency type situation, or, you know, for, you know, in the moment type of thing, I guess, you know. So yeah, I was just kind of curious on how that works, you know, because I know that there's going to be that dynamic where not everything's going to go your way all the time, and understood, and, you know, it's business. But I was wondering if there was some sort of technique or some sort of avenue that we can kind of steer towards. We find ourselves in that position. So something I'm got to try and look into, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's one of those. Hopefully, it shouldn't be this, but it's one of those. You cross that bridge when you get to it kind of concept.
Yeah, it's a little caveat. Yeah, so fair enough. Yeah, I'll research that a little bit more, see what I can come up with. But I just thought that maybe you might know offhand if any particular, you know, that scenario, any kind of, you know.
But then, would you also take advantage of the platform that we just saw, eCarrier Check? That's a good sourcing tool for carriers. So you can utilize that while you're dispatching for your ones now. You could be sourcing others on eCarrier Check. So in case 1 does or 2 does fall off, you can jump right on eCarrier Check and see if you can find some other ones.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay, cool. Just I thought I would throw that out there and see if I had any. Could pick anybody's brain and see what I could come up with on that scenario. So thank you for answering that question.
Yeah, no problem. Leah, Tiffany, and then Esther. Leah.
Hi, Charles. Hi, everybody. Hello. I have a question that goes back to if the driver, the carrier, does not pay.
Right.
Are we able to either with eCarrier Check to either send them eCarrier Check an email and explain to them what happened so that they can put it in their platform, or
to kind of blacklist that carrier?
Right. that blacklisted the carrier so that other dispatchers will not have the same problem, to let them know that this person doesn't exactly pay.
You definitely can do that. You can also do that on there's certain load boards that are certain other platforms that you can blacklist carrier and let them know that, you know, this person didn't pay for dispatch services, you know.
Okay.
So yes. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tiffany.
Hey, I wanted to touch bases on a little conversation I was just having about bringing on sub dispatchers. So myself, I'm just getting started in your training just a couple days in, and I have a guest on this Zoom that wants to learn more and like kind of be like an intern with me and help me get started on doing dispatching. And then I have 3 others in Chicago that wants to learn and come on and possibly do this business too. I already found my LLC. Now, if they're coming to join me in my business and we're trying to take off together, they need to have their LLCs individually also, right?
So it depends on how you want to. Do you want them working under your company as sub dispatchers, as employees, W-2 employees, or do you want them to be independent contractors, 1099, where they file their own taxes? And the reason why I say 1099 is because if they are going to be dispatching not just only for your company and your trucks, but they want to dispatch for other trucks on their own, then they would be recommended they do 1099. Otherwise, if they just want to be working with you and just grow with your company, then you can just hire them as W-2 employees. So that's, you would have to.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want them to be W-2 employees because I don't want to be responsible for people's insurance and all that kind of stuff. I want them to do their own taxes and everything, but it's just me and like 4 of my girlfriends. We all graduated together. I'm in Texas. 1 is in Arizona that's on here now. And then I have 3 in Chicago. We all single mothers trying to figure out another way to get out of our nine to fives.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So yeah, so then they could just form their own LLC, and you guys all just work together, just form like a little dispatching conglomerate, and you guys just tackle certain areas of the country.
Okay. Well, if where I'm confused is I already got my name. So will we all be like kind of marketing our own names out, you know, as logistics, or just go up underneath my name with the name that I came up with my LLC, but they still have their LLC just for payment purposes and tax purposes or all of that? Because it kind of seemed like, you know, if they got their own LLC, they create their name for their LLC. But will we be marketing just my one name as the company? You know what I'm saying? That's doing all this dispatching, but we all just grabbing this carriers from here and there and, you know, figuring out how do I say, divide the money, or should I put one in each sector of somebody getting a carrier, somebody is doing the bookings, and somebody is doing the marketing, but we all under our LLC.
Right, I understand what you're saying. That sounds, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a partnership, or partnership with multiple people.
Right.
That way everyone has an equal footing in that. Depends on how you structure your partnership. Right.
Okay.
So you may have to, you guys may have to sit down and have another conversation, and then restructure your partnership as opposed to an LLC, because that's what it sounds like. You guys want to work together, but it sounds like you want to be a partnership. So it's going to be hard to work together and then have all you guys have LLCs. It's going to be hard to work together, and you don't want them W-2 employees. So it sounds like another option would be working together as partnerships, as a partnership. That way, everyone, and you structure your partnership in such a way that you guys have equal footing. So
okay. Yeah, that's a different avenue that I was thinking about too. I was kind of confused. I'm like, well, I want everybody to win, but I don't want it to seem like, okay, all 5 of us is working this business, and this one person is getting more carriers than the other person, and everybody ain't kind of eating, you know what I'm saying, equally, unless we have the carriers coming in and we just, this first carrier come in goes to you, second carrier goes to you, if we divide it like that, so everybody can get carriers at the same time and everybody's eating, that would be like another way that I was thinking too. Like,
just so contract, like Tracy just made a good point. You guys you can contract with each other and just hand each other carriers, hand each other business, and just make the money internally within your network with all of you guys. I don't know how many of it is.
Yeah, it's 5.
Yeah.
That's contemplating it.
Yeah, just contract with each other.
Okay. So,
but the first thing I recommend, have the conversation with all 5 of you guys. Sit down and iron out what all these different scenarios that you can potentially come up with. Lay them out, and then determine what would be the best structure for those scenarios, and then you'll find your answer there.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Esther. Miss Esther.
Okay, sorry, I had to get off mute. Talking about the ACH form, I put it on my website, but for some reason, like you said, Charles, it's kind of it's an uneasy conversation to have. At first, because you're first starting out, they're giving you a chance, kind of, sorta. So I think it's kind of a, uncomfortable conversation that if I could avoid, I would rather avoid, and go like I talked about the factoring route, just in case we can do that. And number 2, AJ mentioned that he or she, I'm not sure, was doing 7%. In my dispatching agreement, I was thinking about 8% for anything with a semi, and then 10% for hot shots and any other specialty. What do you think? Is that too high? Is that tolerable?
No, that's a great scenario, because you're charging more percentage to the equipment types that you're going to have more of a challenge getting loads for. Right.
If 8% out of the gate as a newbie, is that tolerable, you think? Acceptable somehow?
The range between 5 and 10% so 8% is within that range, so that's fine.
Okay, because I'm leaving them 2% for the factoring, just to know that right off the top they have 10% out and that they can live with,
Exactly. So you're thinking like an entrepreneur. That's an entrepreneurial concept. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Charles.
All right. Tiffany.
Last question, Charles. Okay, so this question is for, like, when you get in the carriers and you're trying to convince them to let you dispatch for them, and you give them the kind of the scenario that you've been going over with us in regards to our percentage, like saying we want 8%, but we're gonna negotiate that on top of your fee from the broker. Right. And that's what we're telling them to kind of, kind of get them to let us, dispatch for them. And once we, get them under the dispatcher agreement, and we run into a situation where the broker just not gonna budge, not gonna give us no wiggle room to get our fee on top of the carrier's fee, what do we do in that situation? Do we just take the L and just let them get they money for that load, and we just take the L on that, because we did tell them that we was going to be trying to get our fee from the broker on top of their fee, negotiated in there, but we just can't get it from this one broker, just wouldn't let us budge. He wouldn't budge and give us that extra.
So no, you wouldn't take the L. What you would do is, so let's say, for example, you found a $3,000 load for a carrier, and you charge 10%. So you're due $300. Right. You go to the broker and you try to negotiate to include that extra $300. So it's a $3,000 load. Your 300 plus that's 3,300. So you try to negotiate, let's say 34 or 35. The broker says, I'm not budging. It's only 3,000. The next thing you need to do is let the carrier know, like, look, the broker's firm on this rate. Do you still want this load? Yes or no? They say, yeah, I want this load because it's taking me to an area that's close to home. Okay, you say, okay, so now if you want the load, Mr. Carrier, realize that I still need to get paid for my dispatching service, so that my 300 is coming out of that 3,000 as opposed to coming out of the broker side. So with that in mind, do you still want the low? So you're going to get 27 now instead of 3,000. So if the carrier, so as long as you communicate and let the carrier know what you're doing, and if they still agree to it, then you're not taking the loss.
Okay.
Because you let the carrier know that I tried to negotiate my rate on top of the broker's money. They didn't budge. I was going to move on and find another load, but I called you and asked you, did you still want this load? And you said, yeah. So if I still process booking this load for you, I still need to get paid my 10%. It's just going to come out of the whole gross amount, which is the 3,000. So it's you're going to get paid. I'm going to get 300. You're going to get 27. Do you still want to do this? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Because I need to get home for the weekend. Some drivers, or no, they might say, oh no, I don't want that. Find me another load and try to negotiate your rate in that one. So the point is communication. You got to let the driver know what you're doing and sharing with. Never book a load without your driver understanding and knowing what you're doing. That's the worst thing you can do as a dispatcher. Okay. So
yeah, I just thought like by telling them that from the beginning, when you got them to sign that agreement that I'm gonna negotiate my fee from the broker and had the broker pay for it, then some dispatcher be like, no, some carrier be like, nah, you told me it was gonna come from the dispatcher, so I'm not gonna pay you, for that load because you need to get your money from them. If they're not gonna give it to you, then I don't know what to tell you, something like that. It'd be some kind of carriers that just be assholes. And I was just thinking that scenario.
Those are the carriers you don't work with. Those are the ones you don't work with, right? So never let a carrier stress you out about what you're doing as a dispatcher. If you're performing a service for the carrier, then you should be compensated for that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you negotiated that into the rate with the broker on the broker side, or whether you got it out of the carrier's settlement with the broker. Mm-hmm. If you book that load, then you should be paid for that. Right?
Gotcha.
And then you also need to communicate that to the carrier. Like, look, every load that I'm going to book for you, I'm definitely going to try to add my percentage fee on the broker side. There will be cases, Mr. Carrier or Miss Carrier, that's not going to happen. In those cases, I will let you know, and then we can decide at that point what we need to do. So as long as you share it,
don't guarantee it. Don't guarantee it. Okay.
Of course.
Right. Yeah.
Never guarantee it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, you hooking them and you baiting them with that, and get them in there, and then they get to inspecting that for every load or whatever. So yeah.
Well, if you say it like that, if you say it like the way I just said it, it's not a hook or bait. You basically telling them the truth. You're telling them the truth. It's never gonna. I'm gonna always try to put my percentage that I charge you for my dispatch service on the broker side, but there will be cases where I can't do that, and in those cases, Mr. Carrier, I will let you know, and we can decide from that point what we need to do. As long as you share it like that, you're being honest with me. I want to work with you because you told me up front how you want to operate, how you want to roll.
Gotcha.
So what carrier in their right mind would not want to have a dispatcher that's going to be upfront and honest with them, let them know what they're trying to do to provide a service for them, right? So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're past our 8 o'clock time. I kind of figured that was going to happen, but thank you. Nate is not here, but we'll thank Nate again for his eCarrier check. Thank you guys for showing up. This is a large number tonight. This recording will be on, I'm going to put it on our YouTube channel as well as in our portal under for those of you who are enrolled members, because I'm sure some of you are guests as well.
When did he say his trainings are? What day?
Every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then this training will be in our recorded videos, training videos library, but it'll also be on our YouTube channel for those of you who subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
So,
are y'all going to be doing any role playing Zooms or anything like that within your training?
Yeah, we do it every so often, but yeah, we have cold caller. We do role playing. I play the role of a carrier. Sometimes I play the role of a broker. difficult carrier, I always do a difficult carrier and a difficult broker, because why do an easy carrier and an easy broker? Because everybody's comfortable with an easy carrier and an easy broker. You want a challenge, right? That way
Right.
you can overcome it. So our next training will be Saturday at 12 noon East. So went to our calendar right here, our training calendar. It'll be this Saturday the 16th. So and this members, remember this is our member portal. You guys see this here. So I'll have this recording finished tonight, and then we'll be in our library early in the morning. I'm in my office now. I'm not in my home office. I'm in my actual office. So my wife is blowing my cell phone up. Like, where are you? But anyway,
tell her we're sorry.
No. That's fine. It's fine. This is part of the job. Commitment is always a good thing. You know, want to be dedicated to and provide a service for you guys. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. So AJ, I got the email, AJ, but I have not had a chance to take a look at your website. But I will, and I will respond to the email with my take of that. All right. You have my word on that, brother. Okay. All right. You're welcome. All right, guys, Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Those of you who came in with someone else as a guest, welcome. Hopefully you got some information to intrigue you and get you interested in dispatch training, and as an independent dispatcher to provide a service to the owner operators, the motor carriers. Hey, Vivian Harper, how are you? All right. How about the question earlier? Oh yeah, what was the question earlier, Mr. Humphrey? I don't want to scroll all the way up. You did ask a question because I had mentioned to you to type it in the chat, but I can't remember the question. I'm scrolling up as we speak, but if you can retype that question, and then Mr. Either Jesus or Jesus friend said, when should dispatchers offer flat weekly rates versus percentage per load? That is a choice by you, the dispatcher. You can either charge a percentage, 5 to 10%, or a flat fee, $250 to $500 per week for however many loads you do. That is a choice because you guys are entrepreneurs. This is your company, right? What's the best way to calculate your weekly rate per truck? It depends on how many loads you book for that truck. But if you determine a weekly rate, let's say out of the $250 to $500 range, you charge $300 a week per truck, irregardless of how many loads you book for that truck. So that would be your concrete number. If you do the weekly rate concept, if you do the percentage concept, then it'll be a percentage per load. Right? Mr. Humphrey, with these types of loads, with the removable gooseneck, are there many owner operators for these loads? Yeah, I did answer that question. There are many owner operators for those loads, but they're not looking for dispatchers. They are pretty much connected directly to the shippers. Those removable goosenecks, because a lot of removable gooseneck loads, oversized and overdimensional loads, it takes a lot of knowledge and understanding the concept of that. You don't want to have a dispatcher send you to an area, let's say it's an oversized or overdimensional load, and it's past a certain clearance height, right? So you send them on a route it may be like a 12.6 clearance, but your freight on that removable gooseneck is 13.6. So now you got to take the time of shutting that road down, turning that trailer around, and getting them out of that area, blocking traffic, all those things. So there's a lot of variables involved in that, right? So you got to be careful with those. I recommend personally on this platform for beginners to focus on the 3 major equipment types starting out, because you want to get the concept of dispatching down first before you transition and pivot into a more difficult equipment type, like the removable goosenecks or the oversized overdimensionals or the hazmat type of stuff. because it involves knowledge, paperwork, and understanding. But the three major ones involve those things too, but on a smaller scale. But you learn them from a beginner's perspective, and then you get that down to automation, and then you can then at that point consider branching off into those other specialty areas. Okay, so my recommendation is focus on the three major ones first to get the process down, and you'll have that aha moment where you say, okay, I think I'm ready to go into RGNs or oversized or overdimensional. You'll have that click in your head and say, okay, I think I'm ready. So, all right. Okay, guys, I will see you guys Saturday, 12 noon, Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so you got to crawl before you walk, guys. This is a beginner platform, so you got to crawl before you walk. Don't jump in the pool without water. You want to put the water in there first, so you got to crawl before you walk, right? They have a saying, don't put the cart before the horse, right? So, you guys on Saturday, let me get this video started the process and get it formatted for you guys, okay? You guys have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe out there too.
Thank you.
All righty.
All right.